I and the entire Results Washington team are so excited to be able to continue offering this learning opportunity this year. It's our second time delivering the conference remotely, and we're amped, so excited about this year's offerings. And in case you missed it, this is our 10th annual conference, a decade. This is a signature event for Washington, one that Results Washington is incredibly honored to have the responsibility to provide. Over the years, we have offered a broad array of learning opportunities for Washington state employees and our friends in local government, as well as other states and countries. Fostering a culture of continuous improvement starts with each of you, and we have seen incredible results from around state government over the years. This conference has evolved with changing times, and that is a testament to our commitment to lean and continuous improvement in Washington. We have been and continue to be on the journey with you. 2021 has been challenging for so many reasons, and we are pleased to be able to keep this annual event a constant. Our success with 2020's conference and the ongoing experiences in Washington and the world since then inspired this year's theme: Elevate, Encourage, Engage, Empower, a decade of continuous improvement together. I am so glad that each and every one of you are here. In selecting this year's offerings, we have asked our presenters to keep three things in mind: provide concrete tools and methods that participants can readily apply to their work, provide learning that can be applied with hybrid and remote work environments to meet current and future realities, and provide learning that supports our commitment to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion in Washington state government. This is our most accessible conference yet. The session materials we post on our website will be accessible. We have closed captioning and ASL interpretation for all sessions. Results Washington is committed to DEI and who we are, what we do, and how we do it. And we are committed to supporting a culture of continuous improvement here in Washington. Next, we have Governor Jay Inslee with us today. Results Washington was established by Governor Inslee in 2013, and he has been a tremendous champion of our agency, our work, and of this lean conference over the years. Thank you for being with us today. I will turn it over to you, Governor.
Thank you, Christy. I really appreciate you leading this effort in our 10th year. We're excited about the progress we're making. We're not done yet. And I am joyous joining this team this morning for the best state in the nation, a state that has had public servants who have led some of the most innovative, dynamic, ambitious plans in the last year and a half during the COVID pandemic of any state in the nation. If any state has done better, if any group of public servants has done better, I don't know what state it is. And I want to celebrate your work and your success, starting with the fact that we've saved more people in our state during COVID than maybe any other state. The fact that we've continued to operate by using innovation and lean technologies throughout this pandemic. And the fact that now we're all working together. It's been tumultuous days. People have had tough decisions with the vaccine issue that we've dealt with. And I want to thank everybody on this call to staying in public service and continuing in this effort. It means a lot to the citizens of the state of Washington. And as we'll talk about today, everybody on this call is part of a very, very innovative team. And I appreciate this opportunity to continue in that tradition. By the way, thank you for making this an accessible conference too, Christy and your team. That is one of our values. If I can, I know I like the themes of this conference, which is elevate, encourage, engage, and empower. So I like anything that's alliterative with an E, since my name is Inslee. So that's not the reason we came up with this theme, but I think it is one that ought to inspire us to greater glory. And the kind of things that theme, I think, when you think about it, does give us ideas about how to advance this. The word encourage to me is an important one on any team. Each of us have the ability to encourage each other to greater feats of innovation and to recognize each other when we do that. I think one of the secrets of the lean process is to really engage the whole team in coming up with new ideas. And encouragement is very important to that, to really recognize people when they do come up with new ideas at any part in the organization. And so I'm encouraging you to encourage others, and for you to be encouraged in your encouragement. I think that is an important part of the process. And I've seen it throughout some of the examples we'll talk about in a few minutes. I know it did start with people encouraging each other. The word empowerment is one I would advance as well. I think one of the secrets of the lean process that I've seen is when we've empowered people to go out and try new things. And that to some degree means giving people freedom to run. And that empowerment sometimes involves, maybe a little bit of risk and trust. But where we have been successful, it's where places where state employees have empowered one another to take new measures to move forward. So that's just a couple comments on techniques. But the first technique is wanting to actually improve. And I want to thank you in so many different ways for doing so. And I want to thank you during the COVID pandemic. The ability of the state to function at a high level with the limitations that we've had, I just could not be more delighted at. Citizens are still getting essential services. Everywhere I see or go, I see state employees finding out a new way to do business to serve people, even when these difficult restrictions that we have had. And, when I talk to people, people appreciate it too. I know you don't hear that enough, but I hear a lot of attaboys directed at you during the COVID pandemic because of your willingness to open new ways of receiving information, distributing information. And I know that's part of our lean process. So thank you for what you're doing. I wanted to just kind of give some examples of our success. And I've just got a handful to talk about today, but to me, each one of them is a victory. And this is how you win wars, is one victory at a time. And when I mention some, I know there's 100 out there that I won't get to mention, but I picked some that to me really embody what we're capable of doing by adopting sort of lean principles. I'll start with the Department of Social and Health Services. Now, they have a lot of important functions, but one of them was close to my heart is to make sure that parents provide support for their children. And that is a challenge in families that are separated from one another. And they did something that is something that when you first hear it, it may not blow you away. But what they did is they accomplished a 1% increase in child support payments in the state of Washington. Now, 1%, you might not think that's, is that sort of earth-shaking? But what it means is $2.7 million more going to our children in our state to reduce their rates of poverty, to reduce their nutritional deficiencies, to allow them to live a decent life. This is a big, big deal. And I want to just start my comments on that. A 1% improvement, if we can find it for our people that we serve, makes a big change in people's lives. So hats off to the department for some of the measures they've used in their case management and their document submissions to bring out that 1%, which is $2.7 million for kids to be able to eat. That's a big deal to me. And that's how you make improvements here, is 1% and 2% at a time. So I want to celebrate that and tell you that that's maybe the most important 1% in state government. Second, I want to talk about the Department of Ecology. They have such an incredibly important thing. We've seen the pollution that has befouled the beaches of California when things went wrong with an oil pipeline, and they do a lot to make that our ships don't leak and our pipelines. And they have developed a new way to process and conduct oil transfer observations so they can do it from the dock and along the shoreline using visual equipment rather than directly boarding the ship. As a result, they're saving time. That means at the same time, they can do more and more thorough inspections. It is now they're reaching a higher percentage of their vessels. And that means we're going to have more protection for our shorelines. And that's a big deal because we know we've got the most beautiful shorelines in the world, and we know what happens when oil gets on them. So here's an issue where some people got together and figured out a way to accomplish an inspection in a more efficient way so we can get more eyes on the vessels to reduce the risk of oil spills. And you get one bad oil spill and we see what it means. And again, this is people come up with a new way of doing business. They thought of it themselves, and it magnified our accomplishments. I look at the Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprise. They launched tools for equity in public spending. And this is a collection of equitable contracting practices. It's a toolkit that encourages agencies to eliminate systemic racism. And it's available to everybody, essentially. And now they're providing monthly trainings to our sub-cabinet. This is where the rubber meets the road in equity, to really scrub and look at our techniques of contracting to improve our diversity in our contracting. And we have work to do on this, by the way. We got a long ways to go to have the equity that we really need in our contracting practices. So here's a way to encourage. We come back to that E of encourage. This office has figured out a way to encourage other offices by providing them a toolkit of how to actually bring more equity into our contracting process. So they're expanding their reach beyond their particular agency. We like that encouragement across agencies. The Liquor and Cannabis Board, they were getting a low online response rate. It was like at 5%. So they're sending out this surveys to find out how we do and what works, what challenges do you have. They were only getting a 5% feedback or return rate. They changed it. They used a new design thinking strategies. Now I'm not sure I know exactly what that is, but I'm going to ask Rick Garza what that is, because they went from 5% return rate to 95% return rate. Talk about a spectacular improvement by improving the communication strategy that they used. I got to ask Rick how that worked. Seems like something we got to embed in my governor's office. So that 5% to 95% means that we are listening much more effectively to the people we serve. But I want to reiterate, that 1% improvement we had in child support, I celebrate just as much as I celebrate the 5% to 95% at the Cannabis Board. They're both examples of improvement. And I want to compliment folks for doing that. The Washington State Department of Children, Youth, and Families, they initiated a shift of over 70% in their portfolio so that they now are doing performance-based contracting. That's an incredible shift in the way we do business in our contracting, to actually make sure that we're getting our bang for a buck when we make an investment in these really, really crucial services. That's a leading agency in the United States in the use of performance-based contracting. And it happened because people were willing to change the way we do business, to really have a fundamental shift in the way we contract for efforts. And that's not an easy thing to do systemically. Congratulations to them. Last, I want to mention the Department of Licensing. They stood up a new appointment system for customers needing in-person services. Recent results have shown 69% of the renewals were online and 9% by mail. That's up from 30% pre-COVID. Huge improvement in the ability to use this technology. How much that was necessitated by COVID, I don't know, but I do know that we had a huge improvement to use a much more efficient system for our citizens. And I don't think our public employees get enough credit for being customer friendly in this regard. I want to give you credit for what you've done, because it's a big deal in people's lives. When you give them an online portal and you can make it work, you save them time, and that means they're at their kid's soccer game and they're visiting and having coffee with friends instead of, waiting for something to happen in a parking lot. That's a big deal. It means life itself in some sense. So thank you for being so consumer and customer oriented throughout that. So I mentioned some examples. I know there are so many others across state government, but each of them mean that we have fulfilled our mandate to help the citizens that we serve. And I hope you take pride in this. This is something you deserve to take pride in, because that means we're doing more with the same amount, sometimes less, in improving the lives of the people we serve. Not many of the people on this call are going to be billionaires. Maybe some, you never know. But each of the people on this call really have something to be proud of. And that's helping our fellow citizens really have a better life in some fashion. That's a pretty good day at the office or even remotely. So I want to thank you for your efforts. They're continuing. This last decade now has made continuous improvement every single year. I see it throughout agencies, and I know we're going to continue pushing this ball upward. So again, thank you so much. I'll look forward to celebrating more victories. Every one of them will be big, even if they're 1%, because that's the way we win games in the state of Washington. So I'll look forward to seeing you next year. Thanks a lot. Be well. Thanks, friends.
Thank you, Governor. We really appreciate you being here with us today, and we are so fortunate to have support from the top. It was great to hear the acknowledgement of all the good work being done by state agencies out there. Celebrating those achievements is always worth the time, and especially now, it is so nice to hear about really amazing things going on out there. So thank you, Governor, for highlighting this for us. Yep. So as I mentioned at the top, we're celebrating a decade of this conference. Continuous improvement and performance management initiatives have been going on in Washington for much longer. And I invite you to take a moment and reflect back on what a decade has been like in your life. A lot happens in 10 years, and some of you have been a part of this conference and more with Results Washington throughout the entire decade. Some of you are newer to this work. The support and partnership from the Lean advisor community over the years has been key. Culture change is hard, and on Washington's Lean journey, the Lean advisors have been integral in implementing Lean culture in their agencies, often while wearing many hats. If you are or have been a Lean advisor to Results Washington over the years, please accept my deepest gratitude. And leaders, you have been key in supporting your Lean advisors and your staff in implementing a culture of continuous improvement in your agency. If you are a leader who has sponsored a Lean event, encouraged your team to use Lean principles and tools, and created space where a culture of continuous improvement can thrive, my hat is off to you. And to anyone out there who has participated in the conference in the past, who has participated in a Lean event, who has applied new continuous improvement methods to your work, thank you. Taking a step to learn and do is key to fostering a culture of continuous improvement. And finally, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our past conference presenters, past conference volunteers, and members of the Results Washington team from over the years. In person or virtually, it takes a village to deliver this conference, and we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you. I personally volunteered at the very first Lean conference in 2011. At the time, I was at the Washington State Department of Social and Health Services, and among the very first few Lean practitioners from that agency. I was excited to help make the conference a success and felt that I was a part of something really special. A decade later, I feel truly humbled to still be a part of this effort as an official member of the Results Washington team. And whoever you are, whatever your experience with Lean and continuous improvement is, I invite you to take full advantage of the offerings over the next 2 weeks. I would now like to give a big shout out and thank you to all of the folks who helped make this conference a reality. WATEC, the Office of Financial Management, the Governor's Office Communications and Scheduling staff. Huge thanks also to our 2021 presenters. We have people from the private sector and across state government and from other states prepared to deliver high quality and high value learning to our participants. We have more Washington State employees presenting material at the conference than ever before. And this is a testament to the investment Washington has made in employees throughout our Lean journey. We are fortunate to have a tremendous keynote speaker who you will hear from in just a little bit, Alfie Alvarado-Ramos, Director of the Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs, or as she will tell you, your Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs. And I also want to thank the Results Washington team, Christy, Kathy, Brittany, Jessica, John, Allie, Tammy, Sharice, and Mandeep. Your efforts have made this conference possible. Many hours have been spent preparing, practicing, and thinking of all the details. And this team is behind the scenes right now, making sure technology works and everyone has what they need. Thank you to the Results Washington team. And don't forget, you can donate to CFD this year. In the past, we have asked in-person participants to bring a can of food to donate. This year, you can donate directly to the Combined Fund Drive. By directing your donations to CFD, you are supporting programs that make a difference and strengthen communities in many different ways. So I think you can tell I'm really excited to bring this conference to you today. We have a tremendous response with over 3,000 people registering for at least one session throughout the 2 weeks. It's incredible. Continuing to offer this conference virtually has allowed us to reach more state employees in Washington than ever before, and also partners farther beyond. While the event has always been free of admission charges, I recognize that travel and several full days out of the office have a cost. Our approach this year makes it much easier for participants to check in for the sessions of most value to them. And it's a choose your own adventure that is mindful of people's time. So as you participate in the conference offerings over the next 6 days, I encourage you to soak up everything you are hearing. We have a tremendous agenda filled with many different angles on continuous improvement. Take your learning back to your team. Talk about what you have learned with colleagues and try something new. And if you're in a position to affect and build that safe and supportive environment for people to debrief on their learnings and to think about ways to apply their learning to their work, I ask you to do everything in your power to do so. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our keynote presenter. Alfie Alvarado-Ramos is the director of your Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs. The department is a statewide advocate for our veterans and their families' earned benefits and services. As director, Alfie is a member of Governor Inslee's executive cabinet and chairs the Washington State Military Transition Council. In that capacity, her agency leads statewide efforts for the seamless transition of service members and their families to Washington State's communities. Alfie is currently the executive sponsor for the Latino Leadership Network, a state employee resource group seeking the professional development and upward mobility of Latinos in state government. Alfie was born in Puerto Rico, and prior to her over 28 years of Washington State service, she served 22 years on active duty, retiring as the Command Sergeant Major of Madigan Army Medical Center and Troop Command, Joint Base Lewis McChord. And Alfie has been an incredibly strong supporter of Results Washington efforts over the years and a champion for lean and continuous improvement efforts in her agency and elsewhere. Thank you, Alfie, for being with us today. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Christy. And I am delighted to be here today. Good morning to my colleagues in state service and Lean partners. It is amazing to be able to provide some thoughts to you as we celebrate 10 years of Lean performance and accountability and growth in Washington State. It is an honor to follow Governor Inslee. I was going to write, it is a horror to follow Governor Inslee because this is a big deal for us in the agency to be able to talk about lean culture and service and results for all Washingtonians. So Governor Inslee is an incredibly passionate governor, and especially about having a culture of service and results for all Washingtonians. This is where lean results and focus withstands the passing of time and continues to evolve and improve. In my initial conversation with Christy and Jessica Dan, following their invitation, I asked, why me? And why your State Department of Veterans Affairs to talk about lean transformation? We are the smallest agency among the large agencies in state government. Without a doubt, we have the smallest performance office of many state agencies. Joy Worcester, our performance manager and a Navy veteran, is a fleet of one in our agency. So our capacity for big projects is limited. And there are also agencies that have completed hundreds of projects, and they could speak eloquently for hours about their journey and achievements. So I told Christy and Jessica that I did not want platitudes, that I only needed to know their expectations and why, the why for their invitation. So as we spoke, I realized that, well, we don't have an abundance of internal resources, and our lean journey has been severely impacted by the pandemic. We do have an incredibly giving, performance and accountability ecosystem in our state that has our backs. Your Washington Department of Veterans Affairs is part of that ecosystem. So this means that we have not been alone. And because of it, we have support and tools that allow our agency to produce results for our veterans and their families. So today, as part of our 10th Lean Transformation Performance and Results Anniversary, I am going to offer a personal behind-the-scenes look at our Lean and performance roots, how our agency has continued its work using Lean approaches through the pandemic, and lastly, my excitement about Washington State's continuing performance journey through a culture of collaboration, diversity, equity, inclusion, and humility. My connection to Lean and how our collective work impacts our measuring our statewide results started at the beginning of Governor Inslee's administration in 2013. Before this, our agency went through Lean training with assistance from agencies and corporations that had the capacity and were further along in their journey. It was a great experience for us to learn from Boeing and witness Lean application in healthcare settings from Virginia Mason. It was a humble start for us, but we made some headway. As our governor assembled his new cabinet and filled critical positions, he did not waste any time to communicate his focus on delivering quality services to Washingtonians and doing so with transparency. He transformed Governor Gregoire's government management, accountability, and performance system to what we know now as Results Washington. This is the system that amasses and reports our statewide Lean and performance outcomes. Our collective journey started with a large workshop that engaged agency directors, advisors, and the team that would become the Results Washington team. We had 5 goals areas to work on: education, economy, environment, health and human services, and government operations. Those of us still around called that unforgettable gathering lasagna and pizza night. And that is what we had for dinner as we worked through the afternoon and part of the evening. Our agencies were grouped based on the goal areas, and our charge was to come up with performance measures and to select a goal council lead. I was in the Health and Human Services team. While we did pretty well in drafting and grouping our most important measures, we struggled to come up with a council lead. Towards the end, our facilitator asked us to select the lead, and it was like this. Nobody seemed willing to commit, maybe because many were new to state government or were enacting roles or were unsure of the time commitment, but mercifully, we ran out of time and we went home. We all knew that the lead was going to be the DSHS secretary. It made perfect sense because it was about social and health services for Washingtonians. The human, social, and health services agencies are what I call the 800-pound gorillas. DSHS, DOC, DOH, WSP, Healthcare Authority. Collectively, they drive the largest percentage of the state budget and its workforce. I was excited for WDVA to be part of such an ambitious and inclusive effort, as it was also involving many small agencies. The governor's chief of staff was the force behind this process. A week later, I had a conversation with her about other things, but also I expressed to her my excitement that your WDVA was part of this work, and that if she needed anything from us, we were all in. Well, in another month or so, the statewide goals were refined and cemented, the metrics established, and when I saw the list of goal team leads, unbeknownst to me, I was the Healthy and Safe Communities Goal Council lead, not the DSHS secretary. Somebody forgot to tell me. In addition, the Goal Council leads became part of the Results Washington design team. This team addressed issues pertaining to the implementation of new performance initiatives and processes in state government. So this was an incredible experience, and I am so grateful for that opportunity. But I will tell you, sometimes you have to kind of measure your excitement because you never know what kind of surprises it's going to bring. I'm delighted to tell you that the Healthy and Safe Communities Council, as the other four, had a great run from 2013 to 2017. Our results, Washington advisor and consultant, Pam Pancook, was a blessing, a most amazing support staff, tasker, and organizer. This interagency council foster a climate of accountability and performance, but more important, promoted interpersonal collaboration and communication that broke many silos. We produce tangible results based on individual and collective lean practices and just plain fixing what bugged us, as former DS director Chris Liu used to say. As 2018 rolled in, we were ready to enter the transition to the current system based on statewide focus areas so Washingtonians could enjoy the best possible customer service experience from their state government. Now to our current state, where I'm going to be focusing on your Washington Department of Veterans Affairs. I will tell you that COVID-19 and the pandemic continue to challenge our state, and especially our agency in ways we never imagined. To give you some context as far as who we are as an agency, we have in Washington 552,000 veterans and close to 2 million family members and 900 employees in the agency. As another point of reference, 80% of our staff and budget operate 4 long-term care facilities or veterans homes. So operationally, we are a 24/7 healthcare organization. So I will tell you that there are no words to describe how difficult the last 20 months have been for all of us. Starting in March 2020, we focused all our efforts and available support staff on continuity of operations and keeping our 800 caregivers and the over 600 residents and clients at our 4 veterans homes safe. While this was taking place, our administrative, service, and business operations staff worked remotely to support our heroes and their families across the state. For nearly 2 years, we have been, like many of you, in the middle of a battle that has changed everything. Lean, in its purity of spirit, took a second seat to the emerging daily issues requiring our attention. Decisions that impact life and safety take place in our organization every single day, and our teams, frankly, are exhausted. They are holding the line the best way they can, hoping and praying for the end of this pandemic. And truly, there are no words to adequately express gratitude to those who every single day, whether from home or on site, keep doing the work with dedication and dignity to serve those who serve. But in the middle of this pandemic, we had to step back, realizing that we had to bring focus to the quality of our systems and stop being in a defensive posture. We needed to account for and memorialize our actions, plan strategically, engage our teams to do their best, and in this entire process, have the compassion and empathy in our hearts to be able to get the work done. We knew that we could not sustain being in reactive mode and needed to change gears, but how? Well, we have agencies and partners in state government that have incredible resources. Many are far along the lean journey and are willing to share when you ask. This is where I need to express my gratitude to the Department of Labor and Industries and their director, Joe Sachs, and Robin Rosine, our L&I Lifeline. I will tell you that our Deputy Director, David Puente, moved through the ranks at L&I and joined our team on February 2020, 2 weeks before the COVID pandemic hit Washington. As he climatized, he knew what his former agency, L&I, could offer because he lived it, he's a product of it, and knew how they could help. So at our most vulnerable time, in the middle of this battle, we started our journey on the PROCE methodology and ADKAR, the centerpieces of change agility. We needed more tools to support change at the individual level and therefore make lean practices more effective. I tell you that at first, ADKAR sounded to me like a Star Wars character because it was, it has become part of our lingo now and the agency's vernacular, but it was a kind of a strange thing to get into. I know lean and change agility work hand in hand. Having fertile ground, prepared through awareness, desire, knowledge, and reinforcement, ADKAR, make the lean tree strong and its fruits abundant. We are not there yet, as we're still training, going through the process, growing, and deploying this way of life in the middle of a crisis, but we know that this is the way. As I look back at the 2 years that we have gone through, we use lean practices to improve pharmacy operations, client health plans, streamline our business practices. We employed the A3 model to respond to our state engagement survey results, rolled out an elaborate and efficient vaccination administration plan using visual mapping. We completed agency-wide performance mapping using risk assessment tools and assessed our internal capacity, experiencing growth even in the most challenging times. In initiating critical operations in March 2020, a 40-person team led by David was assembled to address this agency emergency and our emergency operations. We still gather A15 every day as COVID has been worse now than at any time in the past 20 months. In this team, each member used their best thinking and skills to evaluate current state, assess our capabilities, and manage a tsunami of conflicting regulations and masters, federal VA, the state, way too many masters. This allowed us to have a united front to address all our challenges. And I can't thank enough this amazing team, especially our leadership team in your Washington Department of Veterans Affairs for giving so much of their time and energy to be able to make things happen. So one of the team's many successes is a comprehensive COVID-19 operations manual that brought sanity to this madness. This expansive living set of processes is used by many states now around the country for their long-term care operations. Our counterparts tell us that it helped them save lives because remember, COVID-19 impacted Washington first, and whatever we did influenced the rest of the nation. We struggle in our agency because of the current and future health worker shortage and the merciless COVID attacks that many nursing homes and health facilities like us are experiencing. The pandemic has given our workforce a lot to think about related to work-life balance, flexible employments, raising kids, and life-changing personal and professional choices. This is a lot to digest as the workforce is changing right in front of our eyes. At the beginning, I said that I was going to offer you a personal behind-the-scenes look at our lean performance roots, how your DBA has continued its work using lean approaches during the pandemic. And for the balance of this talk, I would like to share my excitement and anticipation about Washington State's continuing performance journey through a culture of collaboration, diversity, equity, inclusion, and I have to underscore humility. This is about people and our focus on the policies and processes that make it all work. Our national supply chain is in crisis and shortages of goods and higher prices are happening everywhere. Why? Ferry, food and office workers, janitors, and other line professions are becoming a commodity. And those are critical to our continuity of services. Why? Nursing assistants and nurses were plentiful in past years. The current shortage is a reason why many hospitals, nursing homes, and home health care agencies are having to reduce access and services. Why? In defining lean, we've looked at the traditional values of improving the quality of products or services, eliminating waste, reducing production times, and reducing cost. We also know that if we do these things and those who do the work influence the outcomes, we will achieve a workforce that feels respected, heard, and part of the process. But is this going to be enough? In looking at our future, Lean is not just about projects, stickies, and posters with charts. What we have seen in the thick of this battle is that Lean is also about feeling our collective aches and putting people first. It is about having as a guiding light the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This lens should be part of all we do internally and externally, and especially when we choose who we have at the table to help us improve our processes and therefore our services and outcomes. What is the link that will make our state the employer of choice, regardless of the shortages and fierce competition for talent? I will tell you, if Dr. Jay is listening from the Office of Equity, she knows the answer. Integrating diversity, equity, and inclusion with lean practices to improve our practices and services for people will make the difference. Governor Inslee is serious about this, and he has made DEI one of his priorities because he knows it is the key to our future. As I reflect on my role as executive sponsor to the Latino Leadership Network, GUA, if you're listening, a governor-sanctioned business resource group, I see incredible and untapped talent within our Latino workforce, as we have in many other areas in our state government. These are emerging voices that love state government, are hungry for opportunities to contribute, and are seeking professional development to have upward mobility based on their own merits. Opportunity abounds, especially now, and our charge is to bring others up with us. This inspiring and intentional work requires our collective ADKAR, awareness, desire, knowledge, and reinforcement for this ecosystem to thrive. We are living unprecedented times. While it may feel that we're hopelessly in and out of the eye of the storm, this too shall pass, and we will come out with a vengeance. My excitement about our future comes from knowing that each of us has the opportunity to look at our work with new eyes, to lift those who have been silent and have the answers to the whys I mentioned earlier, to intentionally bring the diversity of thought, people, and voices that will make our workplaces, virtual or not, for each and every Washingtonian successful. And to continue our lean journey through agencies that share, a workforce that cares, and a state that produces amazing, equitable, and just results for all. Thank you for inviting me to speak with you today, and I hope you have an amazing Lean conference.
Wow, thank you, Alfie. I think you are one of the most inspiring leaders I've had the chance to work with in my career. What you shared today obviously demonstrates your commitment to lean and continuous improvement and the people, and what it takes from all of us, from the line to senior leaders, to further that culture of continuous improvement in state government and for the people we serve. And thank you for sharing DVA's story as well, and for spending time with us today. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. So no matter what is going on in the world, we've touched on a lot of things today, no matter how much time passes, 1 year, 10 years, more, the key tenets of Lean are still valid. Keep the customer at the center of problem solving. Know that you, yourself, the person closest to the work are capable of solving problems. You can just do it. Reach out for help if you need it. Request support from your leader. And leaders, managers, and supervisors, it is your responsibility to make sure your teams have what they need to problem solve. Lean and continuous improvement is about being hard on the process, not the people doing the work or the people being affected by the work. In order to tackle and make improvements, the people doing the work need to be trusted and empowered. Having what they need often means you providing them with top cover and making it possible for them to run. And remember the 3 things that we ask presenters to keep in mind when designing content for this year's conference. Applied tools and methods. Focus on learning that can be applied in a hybrid and remote work environment. And focused learning that supports our commitment to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion in Washington state government. It's the culture of continuous improvement we're talking about here, and that culture is not separate and distinct from our DEI efforts. DEI is a part of everything we do, including Lean. Results Washington and our leadership continues to support the advancement of Lean and continuous improvement in Washington. In the spirit of continuous improvement, Results Washington has been busy with our own strategic planning. Thanks to the dozens of leaders we met with over the summer, your input is helping us inform our agency's direction, including what is next on our Lean and continuous improvement journey. We know we will focus intentional efforts on Lean and continuous improvement for modern times and modern needs. There's broad interest and opportunity across agencies, small and large, to keep this learning and connecting alive and relevant. Much more to come in the next calendar year. But for now, in this moment, I want to thank you again, Governor Inslee and Alfie, for being with us today and for your support. You are part of the village that makes what we do possible, and I'm incredibly appreciative to you both. And thank you to all of our amazing attendees today, all of you who are with us. Please take the time to complete the survey that will pop up at the end of the session. This will provide us here at Results with meaningful feedback about your meeting experience. Enjoy the conference and go forth and do great things. Bye.